Hi, it's Jose. Thanks for coming back to sharing my journey to I am. I just want to talk a little bit about black sheep some more, about the black sheep environment that was already set in my family before we joined the Jehovah's Witnesses, that actually made it easier for them to draw my mom in. So when I was younger, my mom had told me she had 4 brothers and a sister. She explained that the male attributes in our family were regarded as being higher than the women attributes. So like the men were just considered better. She had 4 brothers. They would take turns mowing the lawn. That was their job, to earn spending money or whatever. And my mom and her sister, they would have to do all the work around the house, the cooking, the cleaning. I mean, they would even iron the underwear. Like, I'm like, wow, let's keep the women busy. Okay. So because of this, both my aunt and my mom are kind of like have male attributes. They can do all the things that men can do. When I was growing up, my mom would do her own plumbing, her own electrical work. I mean, if she could. And then my aunt, well, after she got married and had a daughter, she let out her real truth that she was a lesbian. My aunt is a lesbian. So, and to this day, she has a girlfriend, and I love her. I love my aunt, and I love her girlfriend too. But the male attributes were just considered to be more, they just got more respect. So that's kind of like Jehovah's Witnesses, where the males get more respect. So my mom was already on that pattern of, being subjugated by the male force, which made it easier for her to just switch over to that type of thinking. Like she didn't even really have to do anything. She just rolled that over. But anyhow, when we were growing up, because of this, I constantly was trying to be as good as a boy. Like I can do everything a boy can do. I got to high school, all my elective classes, my elective classes were all shop classes. I took carpentry. I took carpentry number 2. I took auto mechanics. I took auto mechanics number 2. I took auto body. I took welding. I took manufacturing. I actually got awards in welding and carpentry in my 12th year. And that's because my mom seemed to love my brothers more. They seemed to get more respect from her than I did. I'm not really sure what the whole thing was. I was the only girl. Maybe I've analyzed this a lot, but the love just seemed to go that way more easier than my way. When we were growing up, our form of punishment that we would get when we would be in trouble. Okay, so first of all, I have 3 brothers, right? So one is 5 years older, one is 4 years older, and my youngest brother is 5 years younger than me. So I'm kind of like the middle child on the younger end. And so the punishment that we would get would be that if we were in trouble, she would put us on our knees up against the wall, and you had to like be really like, you couldn't slouch or anything. You had to keep your nose close to the wall. Like you didn't have to have your nose on the wall, but she wanted you to stay firm. Like you couldn't slouch. If you slouched, you got added time. So me and my oldest brother, Dan, we always were goofing off. Like we'd just start laughing and joking. We'd get added time. And my second oldest brother, Mike, he always listened to the rules. He was the golden boy, not being like, in a mean way, but just, he always, made the right decision for the most part. So he'd be out of there. Like as soon as his punishment, like our punishments, we'd all be doing it together. And then he'd be out of there first every time. And then me and Dan would still be there for a while. And then my brother Christian, well, he never got to go on the knees. My mom always just put him in a bench in the corner. So he didn't even get that treatment, I guess. So nonetheless, yeah, that was the treatment that we got. But yeah, my brother and I, we were always goofing off. My brother Mike would get out of there early, and that's just how that was. But as soon as I got to high school, like I know that from at the time of adolescent, I was always questioning things. Like if things have to be fair for me, like if I don't see fairness, I'm going to question it and I'm going to state it. And so we got to high school, and I'm in grade 9, and I get called down to the office, and because my brother Mike, my middle brother, is drunk and he's passed out in the bathroom. He's like passed right out. He'd like kind of like all over himself. And so my mom says to the principal to bring him home. And so the principal loads him up in his Mustang, and we drive my brother home. He throws up in the principal's Mustang. And his punishment was to be laid out on the porch. We lived in a cul-de-sac, and both of our neighbors were drinkers, like alcoholic drinkers. And that was his punishment, was for the neighbors to see him passed out on the porch. And I was like, at the time I didn't think anything of it. But I don't know, a couple months passed, maybe a month or so, a couple months. And I ended up getting drunk at school too. I had drank at lunchtime. I wasn't stupid drunk. I just had a buzz on, and I was maybe slurring a little bit. But I got brought down to the office. And when they called home, my mom said, charge her. So I got charged with drinking underage and thrown in jail. And I didn't see how the punishments were the same for the same infraction. It was my first time drinking. It's not like I had done this a bunch of times to learn, but somehow, honestly, to be honest with you, I'm grateful because I'm not a drinker to this day. I'm a social drinker. I think I have social anxiety. So when I'm around other people that are drinking, I will drink just maybe to, be in the same wavelength as them so I can be on the same plane of thinking. But, I didn't develop. Whereas my 3 brothers, they all drink. My oldest brother, they all drink. And so anyhow, so that two-way road was always there. Like there was always a different set of rules for me, and I kind of get it. You want to protect your daughters and stuff. I'm not sure if it was actually protection. I think it was more just, maybe I reminded her of her, and I think she's just finally loving herself now, maybe. But I know that back then she found it really difficult being around me and the dealing with me from the time of adolescence anyway, when I started to be a challenge. She didn't have the tools, because in our family we would just marry you off when you're like 16, 17. And I thought it was just our defunct branch. Like I thought it was just like my mom and my aunt and the women from my grandma's branch. But I got talking to my grandma's sister, and it turns out it's actually our whole tree. Like, and it's, repetitive from before. My grandma was married off at 16. My mom was married off at 16. I was married off 10 days after I turned 17. Like, your parents have to sign for this. You're not an adult. So they're kind of just like, shipping their problems on to somebody else. And I see that pattern now. Anyhow, that's how that was. That's how that worked. And so I tried so hard to be like a man all the time. Like I got out of high school, and I have a math brain. My brain works in terms of numbers. And I decided to I really wanted to go into carpentry, but there was really no money there. So I went into financial advising, and I finished my year out. But after a year, I got a D in finance, and I got really scared. I was like, oh my God, I don't understand. Even though like I knew, I could tell you what a mutual fund is, a GIC, blah, blah, blah. But I just didn't, because you can't really tell which GIC and which mutual fund's going to be the one. I got scared. I don't like unpredictability. I like to really know what's going to happen. It's just my part of my personality. But when I got that D in finance, it just knocked my confidence levels way down. It didn't matter that I had a 98 in statistics or a 92 in accounting or, like other things that would have balanced that out. I was just like, oh my goodness, this is the core of the course. How can I advise people financially? I just didn't feel the confidence to do it. So I finished my year off and I switched over to construction engineering. My grandpa was an architect. My mom's a blueprints draftsman. My brother's an industrial engineer. I have had construction experience. So I went into construction engineering. And I did fine in that. Like I was doing okay and, average. But except for the math, which I always excel at. But I actually had a teacher hit on me, and he was already engaged to one of his other female students from like the year before. And it made me so uncomfortable. Like now I wish that he could say something to me now, because I'd just look him straight up and be like, dude, beat it. Like, but back then it made me uncomfortable because I thought the other students had heard what he said in my ear at my desk, because I think it was my birthday or something, but I was dressed up to go out in some tight jeans and, leopard shirt or whatever. But I didn't normally dress like that to go. I was always like a cargo pants and white tank top, or like I dressed like a boy a lot. And because I felt respected that way. I felt like I was gaining respect through my masculinity. And when the teacher said that, it just made me so uncomfortable. Like, he whispered like, oh, you're fucking sexy or something like that in my ear, because I had walked down the hall to go to my class and everybody stopped talking and was just like looking at me. And I became really self-conscious. I was like, what's going on here? Like, I'm here every day. Like, and I walked into the class and nobody would talk to me. And I didn't like experiencing the way they were treating me, because I guess I looked different than what I normally did. But the way the teacher reacted just made me so uncomfortable that after that, I didn't participate in class anymore. And I went from being an A student to being a C student, and in his class especially, because I was uncomfortable. And so I finished out my year. At this point, I've got like $25,000 worth of debt. So I went into the workforce. I didn't finish either one of my courses. I mean, I finished the year out. I got, the credits, but I went into the workforce. French is my first language, so I became a bilingual customer service representative. And I actually enjoyed that. I do like to be of service to people. I like to be helpful. So back to the black sheep. It is not a good feeling to have upon yourself, to not feel like you're good enough, for any of the reasons. In our family, it was because I am a girl. They just don't get the same respect that the men do. And this was evident when I went up to go visit my family. My whole extended family lives about 12 hours north in Quebec. So I would go and visit them. As an adult, I'm the only one of the grandchildren that ever went up there to visit, of my mom's children that went up there just to visit. And I've done it every year pretty much, sometimes twice a year, because I love family and I want to be with family, because I didn't get to be with family when we were growing up because of being a Jehovah Witness and pushing away the worldly family. But when I went up there, it was pretty evident, my grandpa, the way he would talk and the way my grandma would behave. I mean, I went to go visit my grandma a bunch of times, and then I brought my son up with me one time, and she gave him $50. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I've come here how many times? Not that I was looking for a 50, but I was just thinking, what? Because he has a penis, he deserves some money? What did he do other than come here and smile at you on my dime because I'm the one that brought him up here? I don't know. I just didn't understand the value behind it. And I mean, I'm not looking anything from my grandmother. She actually gave me things that are worth so much more than money. I got all her art stuff. She had made a, chiseled a boot out of a log, and I keep my feather collection in that. And she had made she'd taken art classes back when she was younger, and I have her little creamer with she made like a little creamer in a plate, and I have the beaver that she chiseled out, and I have it's a wall hanger type beaver, and she, just, I have those things, so I'll be able to be connected with her a lot longer than money. So I understand I actually have the better gift, in my opinion, because the energy that's attached to those gifts will keep me connected to her for a lot longer. Every time I look at her, I will think of her. So I'm grateful, but I just, in that moment, I was like, there's that unfairness rearing its ugly head, and it just hurt. I don't know why it did, but anyways, and my grandpa, just, he's passed away now, but holy moly, just the stuff that he would say would be like, and because I'm a strong person and I'll speak up, I'd be like, Grandpa, why are you talking to Grandma like that? Or, Grandpa, what did you just say to that nurse? Because he was in the hospital at the end when he was dying, and they actually called the police to come in and deal with him because of his rudeness to the nurses. I couldn't believe it. I went in there, and because I am who I am, I put him in his place. As nice as I can, obviously. Be like, what are you doing, Grandpa? She's doing her job. You shouldn't be talking to her like that. Because she brought him a glass of ice water, and he told her it wasn't cold enough. And because he was having some kidney problems, it was making the taste in his mouth be terrible. And I'm talking, he flipped out on this nurse. I was like, wow. I actually had to, I left the room and then came back later and spoke to him after. Because, again, I believe in fairness and equality and just proper treatment. I don't like disrespect. Not that I've, been respectful every moment of my whole life. There's a time, I believe you need a full deck of cards to play the game of life. The good ones and the bad ones, every card in there. I remember hearing, Jehovah is a jealous God. And then I'm like, well, that's why we have jealousy, because we're made in the qualities of God. We're not just made in the good ones, we're made in the good and the bad. So every bad quality that he has, he hates, we hate. He kills, we kill. We have all of the qualities. We didn't just inherit the good ones. And, just something to think about. Again, to all the black sheeps out there, if you're feeling alone, you're not alone. We're in this together. And please come back. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear what makes you the black sheep in your family, or in your congregation, or in your situation, whatever it may be. I'm still the black sheep. Who's the black sheep? Who's the black sheep? This girl. And I'm okay with that, because I'm not easily led around by other people. So, all right. You guys have a wonderful week, and thanks again for coming to check out my video. Please comment and like my video. I would love to hear from you if you have something to tell me. And you all have a wonderful day. I love you.